friends, Zoe here. Today I'm super excited to talk to you because today we're having a Q&A with all of your wonderful questions. So let's get started. Alright guys, so I asked you to ask me anything on Instagram and I have collected a few questions here. But first, if you aren't following me on Instagram, it is linked down below. Be sure to follow along on the journey as I have some big surprises coming up. Alright, our first question right off the bat comes from The Bell Show. Fave city other than Rome? It's a difficult one. I would say favorite city inside of Italy other than Rome would be Florence, and I would say favorite city in Europe then outside of Italy would be Amsterdam, and I'd say any other city in the world would probably have to be Toronto because I'm Canadian and it was home for a while and I loved it. I love that city. Next one comes from Stephanie. Favorite place to visit in Rome? This is a good question. The one thing I love about living in Rome is that it is like an outdoor museum. So there's always plenty of things to go and see. Just stroll through the streets and you just feel like you're walking through time. It's beautiful. I would say favorite places to visit in Rome is anything with a nice view. I really love Pincio because it is near my home, and I also love Gianicolo and the Aventine Hill. I love when I can see all of the beautiful rooftops of Rome, the beautiful terraces and the greenery. It's just truly such a spectacular city on its own, but then like I said, when you get the views, it just appears all the more grand. Next question comes from Peace Giggles. How would you cope with negative energy of a housemate or friend? So this is a really good question, but I think it always just comes down to communication. So I have had really amazing living situations like the one that I'm living in right now, and I also have had really terrible ones, like for example just having roommates who I didn't get along with in my university days. I also spent a portion of my time living with my ex-boyfriends, like living with him when we were broken up because we signed a lease together. So I've had my fair share of, you know, negative living situations. I feel like that could be a whole video on its own, but what I have to say about this is that it always comes down to communication. If there's something that doesn't sit right with you, maybe your roommate is being messy, or maybe they use something of yours that you wish that they hadn't, all you have to do is sit down and have that conversation. And once you have that conversation, as difficult as it may be, you're released of that situation because you've spoken your truth and you're not harboring these feelings, thinking about what you're gonna say, going through those loops in your head. If you sit down and you have a conversation, this works with any relationship too, friendships, like relationships, you just have to sit down and talk. And oftentimes it can be a lot easier for us to resort to sending a text message and trying to have that conversation over text. But you really cannot transfer the energy, you can't transfer your feelings. And how many of you out there have read a text and you're like, wow, that was kind of rude, but really the person wasn't meaning it in that way, or vice versa, you said something to someone else and you didn't mean to come off as rude. It just is the way that texting goes sometimes, the way that people type things or they shorten words. Always just try to communicate and hold household meetings if you need to. Next question comes from Curly Max. How should I get back into manifesting and the law of attraction after nearly a year? Well, Curly Max, I recently published my law of attraction guidebook called Manifest Miracles, which is the ultimate law of attraction guide, all of my best exercises, and they're extremely actionable. You can take part in them right away to start manifesting your dreams. Surround yourself with positive, inspiring content. Success stories are always a great place to start. The next question comes from Gaia Vile. Where do you see yourself living other than Roma? This is a difficult question because I can see myself, of course, living in cities that I lived before, like where I grew up on Vancouver Island or in Toronto. But for overall happiness and state of being, I know that after living in Rome for this much time, I really need my sunshine, my bright colors, my beautiful palm trees, umbrella pines if they have any. I need to be in a place that is bright and vibrant. So that's very important to me. Of course, we may have to take some detours along in our path, foreshadowing something, you guys. But yeah, I hope to wind up someplace with a lot of sunshine. Next question comes from Kim. What are some things you wished people knew about you? And this is a wonderful question because I have something to say, is that I really wish I could share a lot more about my relationship with my mother with you guys, because it's not really existent in my life. I don't speak to my mother and haven't spoken to her in about 10 years or over 10 years. And looking back, I went through a lot of turbulent times, I would say, and from those times I have learned so much about myself and so much on how to overcome situations. It's just not really a safe space in me at this time to speak freely about that with you guys. But as soon as it is, or it feels comfortable, I would like to relay more of that with you, because I remember growing up and I remember feeling like the only girl in the world who didn't have this special relationship with her mom, where they go shopping together or they go out for lunch together, or the mom surprises her with something. Like, I just never had a relationship like that with my mother. And I think that if I could open up and share some of what I went through, there's got to be another girl out there, a few other girls or women who can relate, and in some way I can do some heavy lifting for them. And what I mean by heavy lifting is, if you guys ever watch any of my self-improvement videos and you feel like you make a connection in your mind, like, hey, you know what, that happened to me and that's why I believe that, or that's where my limiting belief comes from, or hey, like, I can use this tip in my everyday life to overcome the situations. And yeah, I guess it's just something that I wish that you knew, because I think a lot of you think, oh, life in Rome, life in Italy, like it just must have been a straight path there, but really I went through my hard times too. So hopefully, like I said, I'll be able to open up to you one day about it. The next question comes from Leslie. Do you have any advice for dealing with stressful situations? I'm so bad at handling stress. Leslie, I think the number one thing about stressful situations is just centering your energy. And this can be done through meditation in only just a few minutes. I have a video on meditation. I'm going to leave below 4 different ways that I meditate. But whenever I feel stressed out or anxious, I just use that as a notification in my mind that I need to center my own energy. Because if we can center our own energy and we can go back to that steady, positive mind space, there's nothing that we can't handle. Next question comes from Justin. How are you feeling so far in 2019? Do you feel it'll be a massive year in terms of goals? Great question, Justin. So far I'm feeling amazing. I had such an incredible January, and now it's been the beginning of February, so I'm just hoping that it's going steadily, cruising like this. I have really good feelings and I have really good goals set out for myself that I plan on accomplishing. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty darn good about it. What about you guys? How's 2019 been so far? Karodu asks, favorite town along the Amalfi Coast and why? So I haven't actually spent enough quality time, I would say, in each town along the Amalfi Coast, but I would say that my favorite is Praiano, because I've stayed there a few times and I just always had really amazing experiences there. And I have a few videos, so I'll leave them down below, and in those videos I also cover why I prefer to stay in Praiano rather than the popular destination of, let's say, Positano. And our last question here comes from Pippa Dreams, and she asks, dating life. So this is a good question because I feel like I can open up a little bit about it, and you guys can perhaps ask me some questions down in the comments, because I thought about this. I'm like, dating, love, relationships, this stuff I really love to talk about, and I could create a whole Q&A on it on its own if I can get enough questions from you guys, so please participate down below. But present dating life. I am currently not on any dating apps, and I don't plan to get on them anytime soon. I'm taking it as it goes. As you guys know, I've set out to just invite love into my life, allow it to be a possibility, because I've just been pretty closed off the past few years. 2018, I definitely opened up. I dated in 2018, and it was fun. It was good. I had lots of incredible experiences, and yeah, I learned a lot of lessons from it as well. Present dating life now, I went on a date about a week ago, or just over a week ago. I met this gentleman at an event we both attended. He approached me and we chatted for a little while and exchanged numbers. I just feel like I want to open up to you guys about this because I made some connections in my own life. Okay, so we exchanged numbers, and he followed up the next day and asked me out for dinner the following weekend. We went out for dinner, beautiful dinner, and had pretty good conversation, but there was no spark. And this gentleman specifically, if you were to write him down on paper, he was tall, Italian, handsome, spoke fluent English, owned his own business, had homes in 2 different European cities. One of them is Rome and one of them is another one of my favorite cities. And he has a house on an island off of Sicily where he works remotely because he runs his own business from there during the summer months. And if you were to, like I said, put all this down on paper, it would have been exactly what I thought I wanted for myself, right? Like, especially moving to Italy, being this digital nomad and wanting someone who was entrepreneurial, running their own business and all this, but there was no spark. And this is one thing that I'm really discovering about myself and have discovered over the past year of dating, is that I'm not looking for a specific person. I'm looking for a feeling. I'm in search of a feeling, like a positive, nurturing, exciting, happiness-filled person feeling. I hope that this is making sense for you guys, but what I'm saying is I've really manifested so many of my wish lists for guys, to the point where I manifested one guy down to his name. I just decided to pick a name that he would have that's a very like different type of name, just to see how well I could manifest, and I manifested him. I've made so many revelations and connections through having manifested all of these guys, is that I'm really in search of a feeling. Like, I don't really care so much what this person does for a job, let's say. I mean, obviously they have to have a job because it means that they're ambitious and they're, you know, self-sufficient, and obviously they just can't hurt animals, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want them to have a job that hurts animals, anything like that. But what I'm saying is, I am very clear now as to what I am looking for, and if I don't see that recognition in myself with this other person, I don't go on a second date. And so this gentleman, super nice, super beautiful person, but I just didn't have this connection. So yeah, I think it's a really beautiful thing though, having discovered myself so much over the past couple years, especially being here in Rome and really being on my own and having to help myself up through situations. I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm gonna attract it. I'm gonna manifest it. That's all I gotta say. Anyways, like I said, let's have like a relationship dating love Q&A. I would love to do something like that. So please leave me any questions down below. It can be advice, it can be questions for me, like, I don't know, craziest date story, something like that. But yeah, anyways, looking forward to hearing from you guys, and I love you so much. I hope you're having a fabulous day.